Right, let's see if this is working here. It seems that we are live. Let me just double check that you can hear. I think we can. That seems to sound all good. Right, let's crack on. So, welcome to the live stream, everybody. We're going to go through the usual monthly review of everything I watched last month. We're about a month behind, so I'm going to go through December's watch list thanks to Letterboxd. Letterboxd is the cool app that lets you keep track of, your movie watching history and whatnot. I'm just going to quickly dive into the chat and just make sure that you guys can hear me okay. Let's see, we've got Cheekster has jumped in to say he's going to have to watch on Catchup as the Newcastle Arsenal is on. I seem to have a habit of doing that, of choosing nights when there's football on. I'm not much of a football guy, but yeah, Corey's on. How are we doing, Corey? And he says, "Yep, sounds all good. Excellent, good stuff. Thanks very much for tuning in, Corey." Right, let's dive straight in. We'll go to the Letterboxd screen here. Busy month in December, got through quite a lot of movies there, but let's go right down to the bottom. First one we watched in December was Incredibles 2. This would have been one that the kids had chose to watch as they were randomly scrolling through Disney Plus, no doubt. Yeah, Incredibles 2, it's okay. It's a fairly belated sequel, like what that says there, that came out in 2018. I don't know when the first one came out, but it must have been at least 10, maybe 15 years before that. So a bit of a belated sequel, but pretty decent. And I think, did they announce earlier on this year at D23 that they were making an Incredibles 3? I'm sure I did read that they were doing that, although I can't quite remember. I'm almost positive they were going to. They did announce a third Incredibles movie. So we'll see how good that one is. Right, let's crack on. So, first one was Incredibles 3. Why is that not going back? Go back. Oh, technical difficulties here. There we go. Right. And then the very next day, Big Hero 6. This is a firm favourite of ours, of mine and my boys at least. It feels like it should have been a much bigger deal than when it came out. It's a brilliant kind of like superhero movie, but also a brilliant animation. It's not a Pixar movie as far as I know, but it is a. I think it was based on a Marvel comic, so it is technically a Marvel movie, a Marvel animated movie. I think I might be wrong on that, but yeah, I feel like that deserved. A bigger deal. Big Hero 6. It was a really good movie, and there's that scene at the end when Baymax, spoilers for Big Hero 6. When Baymax does what he does, it's emotional. It's emotional. But yeah, it would have been great to get a proper sequel for that. I think we might have got like a TV series based in the same universe, but we definitely didn't get a feature length movie sequel to this, which is a shame because, like I said, it's a really good movie. So if you've not seen Big Hero 6, brilliant animated superhero movie from, 11 years ago. That's making me feel old. Anyway, right, let's move on. And then we started the Christmas movies with Violent Night. We missed this on the first run when it came out, because I think it came out in time for Christmas, like Christmas 2022, but we didn't catch it then. We caught it Christmas 2024, and it's actually pretty good. It's definitely been added to the Christmas movie rotation in our house. I think, what did they write on Letterboxd? Die Hard meets Home Alone meets Bad Santa meets The Christmas Chronicles. Yeah, that was it's a pretty good movie. It's a pretty good, it's a Christmas movie. Yeah, it's basically Die Hard at Christmas. It's Die Hard with Santa, which, if that sounds like your cup of tea, you'll enjoy that cup of tea. David Harbour is great in it. Is it Harbour or Arbor? David Harbour?
Anyway, the dude from Stranger Things, Hopper from Stranger Things, plays Santa, and then the rest of the movie plays out like Home Alone meets Die Hard with a little bit of Christmas Chronicles sprinkled in there. So yeah, if you've not seen that, it's a very good movie. Add it to your Christmas rotation. Moving on. Well, actually, let's jump back into the chat real quick. Corey saying, agreed on Big Hero 6, need to give it a rewatch. Yeah, man, it's a good movie. It's a good movie. It's one of those ones where, again, just to go back to it, it feels like it should have had a much bigger fanfare when it came out, but just got lost in the shuffle of whatever was coming out in 2014. But it's a really good movie. And Mockingbird, hey, hearing loud and clear, fabulous. Thank you very much. Right, let's crack back on. So, this one was interesting, The Polar Express. Even though that came out 21 years ago, I had never actually seen it. So, as a family, we went to see it. They were showing it at the IMAX at Glasgow Science Centre. So I got to see The Polar Express for the first time in 3D IMAX on a big IMAX screen. Now, the IMAX screen at Glasgow Science Centre, it used to be an old school traditional film IMAX. Now it's a digital IMAX. It's not the new dual laser one that they have at Glasgow Cineworld. It's the older digital style, the Xenon laser, I don't know. So yeah, I mean, it's a big 3D IMAX screen. Not going to lie though, it's been a while since I've sat and watched a 3D movie in the cinema. I'm not a huge fan of 3D movies, and it kind of gave me a headache. The movie itself was decent enough. Kind of felt like a short story stretched out to feature length though. The uncanny valley effect that the movie's known for was definitely there and noticeable. That's where it's like, you've got like the dead eyes of it, like it's CGI rotoscopy type, performance capture, but there's something about the eyes that just looks like dead inside, and that's pretty prominent throughout the whole movie. It's one of those ones where I'd heard so much about the Polar Express and about that element of it specifically that was in my mind going in, so that might have like influenced my opinion on it at the time. But yeah, it's decent enough, and to see it for the first time in IMAX was pretty good, and the kids enjoyed it. I mean, it was a day trip out to go to like the big IMAX and put on the 3D glasses. But yeah, not a fan of 3D in general, so wasn't really loving that too much. Right, moving on. Let's see what else. So that must have been the same evening. National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. It's a classic. It's a classic for a reason. The the Chevy Chase element can't be denied. He is an absolute genius in this. Oh, speaking of Chevy Chase, if you've not actually seen Saturday Night, which is the SNL, the Saturday Night Live movie that I think it came out in the States back in October or something, but it's just came out in the cinema here in the UK. The actor that plays Chevy Chase in that is phenomenal. He does such a good job of, like, not necessarily doing an impersonation of Chevy Chase, but like capturing his spirit on camera. Anyway, that's us getting sidetracked. That's talking about Saturday Night, which I'll talk about on next month's live stream. Anyway, this one, Christmas Vacation, it's an absolute classic. You can't deny that. Yeah, it's probably my favourite of the vacation movies. Interesting tidbit. So you've got the original Vacation, and then Christmas, and then European Vacation, and then Christmas Vacation. I think that was the order of release. For the longest time, I didn't actually think that there was the original Vacation movie that existed, because here in our house, at least on television here, we'd seen Christmas Vacation a couple of times. We'd seen European Vacation. I didn't actually know the original Vacation existed until like a decade later, when I think I caught it on DVD, when they brought it out on DVD, because the first one I remember watching was European Vacation. That's the one that I've probably seen the most, saw loads and loads as a kid, and then saw Christmas Vacation. So yeah, I didn't know that the original Vacation existed. So there you go. But yeah, Christmas Vacation, absolute classic. Let's jump into the comments real quick. Oh, where have they gone? They've disappeared. There we go. And we've got Anthony's Horror and More. How are we doing, buddy? Thanks for stopping by. Just saying hello to everyone. Mockingbird says, didn't think Santa could get any hotter than Kurt Russell. I mean, that's an interesting point. Who is the hottest Santa Claus? It seems to be a two-horse race between Kurt Russell in the Christmas Chronicles movies. At least he was the hot Santa up until David Harbour came out with Violent Night. So, yeah, who's the hottest Santa? Kurt Russell, David Harbour, or someone else? There's a poll I never thought I'd be asking on a live stream, but there you go. Right, let's jump back in here. There we go. Another first for me, Deck the Halls. I hadn't seen this one. I don't even think I was aware of it that much. What have I wrote here? Decent fodder for the Christmas movie month, although it's hard to see Danny DeVito as anything but Frank Reynolds these days. That's true, apart from the Penguin, and we'll get to that in a few minutes. Yeah, Deck the Halls. It's okay. It's Danny DeVito and what was it, Matthew Broderick. It's passable Christmas fodder movies. Not the worst Christmas movie. Probably not the best. Yeah, 3 out of 5, 6 out of 10 seems about right. Then, nothing to do with Christmas, but this was getting a bit of a push on my Netflix For You page. So watched Jamie Foxx's stand-up because I thought that would be quite funny. Interesting to see what he chats about. It wasn't. It was pretty pish. It was less of a comedy stand-up show and more of a storyteller, gospel type evangelical preacher thing with a few laughs thrown in for good measure. So yeah, it was weird and it kind of felt oddly not genuine coming from Jamie Foxx. Like, yeah, I misunderstood, what the assignment was. I thought it was a stand-up show. I wouldn't say it was a stand-up show. It was a preacher. It was a gospel performance with a couple of jokes thrown in there. So yeah, not good. I wouldn't recommend that at all. Jump back into the chat real quick. Anthony says, Kurt Russell is fantastic. He is fantastic, but is he the hottest Santa? Anthony says, Deck the Halls is a bit cringy, but I enjoyed it well enough. It's not one that I'll revisit too often. Yeah, it'll probably, I think it's in the Christmas rotation at our house and has been for a while. I just happen to have, avoided it until this year. Well, until last year. It's okay. Right, let's jump back into the list. And then finally got around to seeing Subservience. Before I saw Subservience and The Substance, I was always getting these two movies. Mixed up. So Subservience, that's the Megan Fox movie where she plays like an android, like a robot. So what have I wrote here? Megan Fox in a role tailor-made for her. Genuinely mean that as a compliment. Husband guy felt a bit off. I remember thinking that as I'm watching it, I don't think he was necessarily a bad actor. It just felt off, like he was miscast in that role. It goes a bit kind of generic stalker killer in the last 20 minutes or so with some blatant Terminator homages / rip-offs. Strong first act and second act, but lets itself down in the third. Felt more like an episode of Black Mirror, stretched out to feature length, to movie length, but it was passable, and it was on. I think it's on Netflix. It was on Netflix or it was on Prime, so it was an easy way to pass 90 minutes or so. And sometimes, as Corey can attest, you're looking for a decent short movie to watch. Something that's 90 minutes or less, which is actually the name of a good podcast here in the UK, 90 minutes or less. Talking about movies that are, funnily enough, 90 minutes or less. But yeah, Subservience, it was on Netflix. Megan Fox plays a robot. There you go. Let's see, what was next? Oh man. And then went to the cinema to see Kraven the Hunter. There's a full review of this on the channel. I'll put that in the description for anyone watching the replay. Yeah, this was not good. and probably the end of Sony's Spider-Man universe. What was the latest kind of acronym they gave it? SPUMC, Sony Picture Universe of Marvel Characters, which, yeah, SPUMC, or did they call it the Sony Spider-Man Universe, SSU? That's probably less problematic. We'll call it the SSU rather than SPUMC, the Sony Pictures Universe of Marvel Characters, which I genuinely think they were trying to call it at one point. Anyway, Kraven the Hunter, it's terrible. Hopefully, it's the last of Sony's Spider-Man universe of movies. Kraven was rubbish. Madam Web was absolutely terrible. The two of them are definitely in my worst 4 of 2024, which oh God, I've not done that video yet. I should really do that video now that we're into February. I should really do the best and worst of 2024. Yeah, Kraven, Madam Web, Morbius, none of them are good. The Venom movies are slightly less crap, but that doesn't mean they're good. You know, Sony, I feel like I feel like a broken record because I've said this many times, but the Sony has access to these cool characters because they've got the rights to Spider-Man, so they've got the rights to Venom, Morbius, not all of the Spider-Man characters. And rather than giving us what we all want, which is maybe another Andrew Garfield Spider-Man or even just more Spider-Man movies, they go and make movies like Madam Web and Kraven the Hunter, and they're just not very good. And the weird thing is, they get talented people involved in these movies, like the director of Kraven the Hunter, J.C. Chandor. I mean, he directed Margin Call, which is a brilliant stock market crash movie from 2010 or something like that, 2012. He also made Triple Frontier, which is a pretty decent action movie with who's in that? Ben Affleck's in it, I think. Pedro Pascal's in it. I think Charlie Hunnam. Good cast in that. It's a good wee action movie. So he can make a good movie, but he did not do that with Kraven. I'm going to stop there because I'll end up on another rant about how bad Kraven and the Sony Spider-Man movies are. But let's jump back into the chat real quick. Anthony's Horror and More. It's Mockingbird saying, yes, Kurt is king. Okay, so we've got a vote for Kurt Russell as the, are we going to say sexiest Santa? Anthony's saying, the pictures are working now. I've just noticed that on the, there it is, the wee people's icons weren't showing up, but they are now. That's good. Subservience actually surprised me a bit. Thought it was going to be garbage, but it turned out to be a decent watch. I also gave it 3 stars. Yeah, that's, they should put that on the poster. Thought it was going to be garbage, but it turned out to be okay. Very accurate review. Corey's, everyone's picture's working now. Brilliant. It's great to have some of those 90 minutes movies on hand for late night watches. It absolutely is. I'm going to find the link to that podcast, mate, and I'll put that on Instagram or I'll send it to you. It's a good podcast because that's literally what they talk about. They kind of recommend and review movies that are 90 minutes or less. And these days, that's few and far between. It seems like they're all going for a minimum of 2 hours. And sometimes a movie doesn't need to be 2 hours long, especially if it's like a comedy or a kind of basic thriller horror, like Subservience. 90 minutes or less, that's all you need to tell the story. Excuse me. And, that's a good thing. Hell yes. And Deck the Halls is so cringe, it's classic. Firm family favourite for myself and my sisters. And Anthony saying Triple Frontier was really good. I'm really good. I would go with good. It was. It seemed to be that was at least in the UK. It just seemed to be dumped on a streaming service. I can't remember whether it was Prime or Disney or Netflix, but I don't think it got a cinema release over here. I think it was it a Prime original? Anyway, whichever one it was on, it just seemed to get dumped on that channel, on that streaming service without much of a fanfare. And you're thinking, for a movie with Ben Affleck and Charlie Hunnam and Pedro Pascal, and I'm sure I'm forgetting one or two names in there, you would have thought that they could have promoted that or even given it a limited cinema release because I reckon it could have done better if it was released in the cinema. But that's a whole other topic. Streaming versus cinema and movie promotions and movies just getting dumped on streaming services. What else have we got in the chat here? Send me that podcast. I will do it, my man. I will do it. Mockingbird says Billy Bob and Bad Santa. And then this emoji. Harper is second. Kurt officially has the hot Santa crown. There you go. Mockingbird has spoken. Kurt has the hot Santa crown. But will someone dethrone him? Not in a weird way. Anyway, back to the list. So yeah, Craven, we're going to say no more about that because it's bish. Back to the Christmas movies. Home Alone, not much to say about that. It's a classic. Everyone enjoys it. You know, the young kids, the middle kid, the older kid, and then the adult kids that are in the house, i.e. me and my partner. That's, yeah, Home Alone, classic. Not got a lot of time for the third one. I've not got a lot of time for the second one, actually, the one in New York. I'm not a huge fan of that one, but come Christmas time, you know, if we're choosing a Christmas movie to watch and Home Alone is chosen, I'm okay with that. But yeah, the second one, less so. The third one, definitely not. And then that remake from a few years ago, which I think it's one of the few movies I stopped watching. Yeah, not good. Right, let's crack on with Carry On. This was a nice wee surprise. This came out kind of late 2024. It was a Netflix original. It's got Kingsman dude, what's his name, Taron Egerton. On the one hand, you could describe it as Die Hard in an airport. However, Die Hard in an airport is pretty much, well, not pretty much, but it is Die Hard too. But this is a decent wee thriller set in an airport with kind of Die Hard elements to it. It actually, much like a movie that I just reviewed recently, Carry On reminded me of a movie called Nick of Time, which is a Johnny Depp, Christopher Walken movie from the 90s. In fact, the more that I think about it, Carry On is basically a remake of Nick of Time, because Nick of Time starts off in a train station where Johnny Depp is there, and then the bad guys do that thing. Yeah, I don't want to spoil either movie, but the more I think about it, the more I'm realising that Carry On Netflix, kind of a remake of Nick of Time with Johnny Depp from the mid-90s. That's a good wee movie, if you can ever track that one down. Carry On Netflix as well. Pretty decent movie. And again, I don't think it qualifies for 90 minutes or less. It's probably closer to between 90 minutes and 120 minutes. But it's not overly long, and it's a decent wee movie. And if you're flipping through Netflix looking for something to watch and you've not watched that, Carry On is a decent movie. Right. Let's see, what was next? Then I finally got around to watching Monkey Man, and that is damn good. That, if I ever get around to doing my top movies of 2024, that would definitely make the top 10. It may not make the top 4 of 2024, but it would make the top 10. It's very, very gritty and grounded, like a stylish action revenge thriller, starring and directed by Dev Patel, who, like, if this was his debut movie, even if it wasn't his directorial debut, the guy did a brilliant job. Kind of John Wick meets The Raid meets Kill Bill kind of vibes. Yeah, like, for a directorial debut, or at least one of his early directorial efforts, it's very, very good. It's very, very good. Ironically, it's probably a little bit too long, even though the runtime's probably going to be not that long. But it's hard to have a unique or a fresh, not hard, it's rare to have a fresh take on the action revenge thriller. Like John Wick came out over 10 years ago, I think, and that felt like fresh. And still is, but we've had 3 sequels to that, and they've all been good. But there hasn't really been a fresh action movie since John Wick and The Raid. This, I would say, takes up that mantle. This was quite fresh in the way, and the stylish action scenes. Yeah, really interesting to see what Dev Patel does with his next directorial effort, if indeed he does one. But it's one of those movies where it did actually get a very, very limited cinema release. I think, was it Jordan Peele saw it at a festival or something and kind of like saved it from being dumped on streaming, and he really championed it and helped to get a limited cinema release, which is great. So we'll see what happens next. But I'm really curious to know if anyone watching in the just now live, or anyone watching this as a replay, or anyone watching this if I clip it as a short, did anyone else catch Monkey Man? Because no one I've really spoke to when it's been brought up, when I bring it up, knows about it, has seen it, or knows about it or has seen it. So yeah, has anyone seen Monkey Man? Let me know in the chat. Speaking of the chat, let's jump over. Surprised Home Alone didn't get a higher star rating from you. Is it just because it's a Christmas film? No. What did I give it? 3 out of 10? I think that's fair, Sorry, not 3 out of 10. 3 out of 5 or 6 out of 10. I'm not against Christmas films, like, as a rule. It's, 6 out of 10 / 3 out of 5 is, as they say on the Empire Film Podcast, 3 out of 5 is still a recommendation. It's just, it's okay. It's okay / good. But yeah, nothing against Christmas films. Just wasn't hugely. I don't love Home Alone. It's it's decent. It's good enough. So not only did Corey see Monkey Man, but he picked up the 4K. Curious, have you watched the 4K yet? I'm wondering how that transfer holds up, because I watched it on it was like a digital rental on Google TV or Apple TV or whichever one I had like vouchers for. So like the 4K stream was pretty good, but there's a lot of dark, grainy scenes in Monkey Man, and I was curious. Hang on while my voice breaks. I was curious how the 4K disc for Monkey Man might look, and how much attention and care they would give to the transfer. So yeah, let me know, mate, if that was how the 4K for Monkey Man looked. Anthony's Horror and More. Carry On was a solid watch, but I thought the female FBI agent character was annoying. I just wanted more more Bateman and Edgerton. I totally forgot to mention Jason Bateman in Carry On. He plays a good bad guy. Spoilers for well, it's not really spoilers for anyone who's not seen Carry On. Yeah, Jason Bateman is the bad guy. There you go. It's spoiled. Is that a spoiler? I don't think it's a spoiler. Yeah, he's really good in that, and I would probably agree the female FBI agent was a bit annoying. Now that you've mentioned that, there is one thing that stood out to me about that as being a little bit off. The midway through the movie, or 2/3 of the way through the movie, the overly stylized action sequence set piece that's set in the car with the female FBI agent. That was weird. Like, in and of itself, that was a good wee action sequence, but it totally felt out of place in that movie. It felt like it belonged in John Wick, not Carry On. As good as the scene was in and of itself, it took you out of the overall movie, I thought. So that was an odd one. Let's see. Anthony says it seems as though India has captured the action genre releasing it. It does. There's been quite a few. I remember RRR from a few years ago, like, did gangbusters. Corey saying he hasn't actually watched the 4K disc yet. Rented the 4K digital a long time ago, and then just last month there was a good sale on the 4K and grabbed it. That's interesting. Yeah, let me know. I'm curious. Put it on your stories, or just send me a DM once you do watch that, because I'll be curious to see how the 4K disc holds up, and hopefully they'll have given it more attention than the 4K stream, because it's not that the 4K stream was bad, but there were certain of the nighttime shots that looked like offensively grainy, if that makes sense. Like, not like, I'm not talking about like natural film grain, because I'm sure it wasn't shot on film. I'm sure it was shot on digital, and they just added film grain to it to give it that look. But yeah, some of the nighttime shots, and there's a lot of it. Most of it takes place at night, but some of it didn't quite hold up on the 4K stream. So I would hope that they did a better job on the 4K disc. Right, let's quickly move on. It's down here. Completely agree about the car action scene and Carry On, very out of place. Yeah, that was an odd one. Right, let's crack back on. We'll take this comment down and jump into the list again. Let's see. After Monkey Man, went to the cinema to see Sonic the Hedgehog 3. Got a full review of that on the channel as well. I'll put in the description. I think I said this on the last live stream as well. Pretty sure the Sonic movies are the best video game to movie adaptations that there's been. As a franchise, they've probably made the most money. I think, the three of them combined, I'm sure, have crossed $1 billion. I know that the recent Mario Brothers movie itself crossed $1 billion, but that's not a great movie. as much as I love Mario, and I've got a huge soft spot for the Bob Hoskins, John Leguizamo Mario movie from I think is it '93. But in terms of like quality and consistency of the movies, I don't think there's a better video game to movie adaptation than the Sonic movies. Sonic 1, Sonic 2 and Sonic 3 have been pretty good. Pretty good. I think the first one's probably still my favourite. A lot of people, from what I read online, actually put this one down as their favourite. If you like Jim Carrey and Jim Carrey's usual, shtick, you'll love this. You'll love Sonic 3 because there's, you get double Jim Carrey in Sonic 3 as opposed to just, single Jim Carrey in the first two Sonics. He did say after doing the press tour for Sonic 3 that he was done with acting, I'm sure. I'm sure that clip kind of did the rounds once it was announced that he was coming back for Sonic 3. He said something like it would have to be like a golden script delivered by angels, something like that. Now, I wouldn't go as far as to say the script for Sonic 3 was a golden script delivered by angels, but it was decent enough. And like I said, I can't think of a better video game to movie adaptation. I know if Jim from Retro's Emporium ever watches this, or he watches one of the clips that I'll pull out, he'll be pulling his hair out because he's a massive Mortal Kombat stan. But let's face it, those movies aren't amazing. There's a lot of nostalgia linked to the first Mortal Kombat movie because we were teenagers, we played the video game, and then they made a movie. It didn't matter how good the movie was, we were always going to love it because it's, a movie adaptation of a cool video game. But looking back on it, it's not an amazing movie. Other video game to movie adaptations, Assassin's Creed, which I still haven't seen, but apparently it's not great. Recently we had Uncharted, that was just okay. The reboot of Mortal Kombat, I didn't like at all, even though we're getting a sequel to it. I know The Last of Us TV show was brilliant, but that's a TV show. The Resident Evil movies, the first one's pretty decent, but then they vary from being okay to terrible. Side tangent, one of the reasons I actually started collecting steelbooks was the steelbook set for the Resident Evil movies. It's funny how some less than stellar movies get pretty amazing steelbook releases. Point being, or case in point, the Resident Evil movies. But yeah, back to Sonic 3. It's pretty good. And if you like the first two, you'll like that one. And they've already announced a fourth one. I think it's coming out in 2027. So I won't spoil the end of Sonic 3, but there's a post-credit sequence in Sonic 3 that kind of sets up who's going to be coming in to Sonic 4. But yeah, Sonic 3, pretty decent. Right, let's move on. After Sonic 3, made the argument that Batman Returns is a Christmas movie, so I added it into the Christmas rotation because I hadn't watched it in a long time, and I hadn't watched the 4K disc. I got the 4 steelbook tin, set with Batman, Batman Returns, Batman Forever, and Batman and Robin. Hadn't seen Batman Returns in a long time, and definitely hadn't seen the 4K disc of it, so I wanted to watch that. It takes place at Christmas. You could argue that Christmas is integral to the plot of Batman Returns, therefore it is a Christmas movie. Not sure if anyone would agree with me on that, but I'm going to stick by my guns on that one. I suppose you can spoil, a 30-year-old movie. There's elements to Batman Returns that only take place because it's Christmas. The mistletoe thing with Michelle Pfeiffer / Catwoman and Bruce Wayne, and that revelation, the whole point of she's working late, they're trying to get these contracts done because it's Christmas. Yeah, I would say as much, if Die Hard's a Christmas movie for the reasons that people say it's a Christmas movie, then Batman Returns is a Christmas movie. And I think I gave it 7 out of 10, 3.5 out of 5. It's good, but much like the original Batman that we watched a few months before, because I wanted to show the kids that Batman movie, none of them were that impressed with it. It's kind of dated a little bit. You can tell that the whole movie's more or less shot on stage, and not in a good way. I remember thinking that when I did a rewatch of the original of Batman '89, maybe 6 months or maybe a year ago. So that kind of like goes in the negative column, I would say, for Batman Returns. But Michelle Pfeiffer's brilliant in it. Danny DeVito's brilliant in it. Christopher Walken, if you can get past the hair, is good in it as well. It is a bit of a shame that they never followed up on Billy D. Williams as Harvey Dent / Two-Face in the Tim Burton universe. It's a shame we never got to see that version of it. I know there was talks of him coming back to do that, and I'm sure Marlon Wayans was actually cast and paid to be Robin, but ended up not doing it. So that was a bit of a shame, but yeah. Point of the story, Batman Returns, decent sequel to Batman, and it absolutely does count as a Christmas movie, and I will die on that hill. Right, let's jump into the comments real quick. I can see someone's offended by Mortal Kombat. Anthony says, Mortal Kombat, still love that 95 film, but it is partially due to nostalgia for sure. It's definitely cheesy and is very dated CGI. Yeah, I watched clips of it just recently. The reptile fight specifically, which I think was a reshoot. I remember reading the reptile fight in the original 1995 Mortal Kombat movie. I'm almost sure the reptile fight between Reptile and Liu Kang, and the Johnny Cage fight between Scorpion and Johnny Cage, I'm sure those were reshoots, because when the first cut of the film was put together, the producers and everyone was like, "There's not enough fighting in our fighting movie." So I think those two fights were reshoots, and the Reptile one, yeah, that's if you ever wanted to show someone what 90s CGI was like, or mid 90s mediocre CGI, it's the Reptile fight. Which is interesting because it's 2 years after Jurassic Park, and the CGI in Jurassic Park still holds up today. But that's, you're comparing apples to Ferraris. Can't really make that comparison. But yeah, there's a lot of nostalgia. There's a lot of nostalgic love for the 95 Mortal Kombat movie. I'm curious though, are there any Christmas films that you'd give higher than 3.5 stars? No judgment either way. Let me think. Off the top of my head, Christmas films that I'd give higher than 3. So we're looking for a 4 out of 5 / 8 out of 10 Christmas movie. I'll need to come back to you on that one. Nothing's jumping out off the top of my head as a movie that I would give more than 3.5 stars to. Hit me up with some Christmas movie in the comments, and I'll quickly fire off a star rating for them. But nothing's jumping out off the top of my head, mate. There you go. Batman Returns is a Christmas movie, and I'm with you, bud. Thank you very much. See, I'm not the only one. Right, let's go back to the list. Elf. There we go. Yes, I can't believe I didn't think of that. Oh no, wait. I was going to say I would give that 4 out of 5 or 8 out of 10, but on Letterboxd I've given it 3.5. Maybe I do have a bias against Christmas movies, and I didn't actually know it. Because off the top of my head there, I was going to give that 8 out of 10 / 4 out of 5. But I've already given it 3.5, so I'm hoisted by my own petard, or I'm strung up by my own rating system. Do I hate Christmas movies? I don't know. Maybe I do. I mean, I love Christmas. I have young kids, and they enjoying Christmas because through their eyes is what Christmas is about. As a parent, I suppose, at least when the kids are young. That's interesting. Maybe I do have a bias and I just didn't know. Anyway, Elf, absolute classic. Even though I've only given it 3.5. But that's 7 out of 10. That's still not bad. Yeah. You've kind of got me contemplating my Christmas movie existence. Anyway, Elf is an absolute classic. It's funny because that came out, was it just before or just after? I think it was just before Anchorman. So Will Ferrell, I don't think Will Ferrell was Will Ferrell yet, at least not in the UK. I think he had a bit of fame in the US thanks to Saturday Night Live, ironically, to bring it back to that movie, Saturday Night, which again, very good. Review on the channel as well. I'll put in the description after the stream ends. But yeah, I'm sure Will Ferrell's got he's got a movie on Prime just now with Reese Witherspoon. I I've not seen it, but I've seen the bus billboards, and I've seen a few of the press tour advertised online. And this may be from a different press tour, but Will Ferrell talks about why there's not been a sequel to Elf. And he basically just says, there hasn't been a good enough script. So I'm kind of glad that they didn't rush to make a sequel to Elf, because it is a classic. I might upgrade my rating there to 4, maybe. I'll come back to that. But yeah, Elf, absolute classic. Every Christmas we watch it, and every Christmas it gets enjoyed. Where was I? There was a quiz recently where was it a movie quiz or a Christmas quiz? Oh no, it was a Christmas quiz. It was family Christmas quiz, and there was a bunch of Elf questions. I didn't get as many right as I thought I would, which was disappointing as the movie guy at the quiz. There you go. Let's see. Corey says Scrooged. That might be a 4 out of. It's definitely a 3.5/7 out of 10. 3.5 out of 5/7 out of 10. Maybe a 4. I would say I'd put Scrooged above Elf, so I would probably give that. Yes, I'm going to give that one 4 out of 5/8 out of 10. No matter how many years go by, Danny DeVito's Penguin never gets easier to watch. I mean, who doesn't want to watch Danny DeVito, in a bodysuit with horrible makeup on, drooling black goo out of his mouth, eating raw fish? It's a Christmas movie. It's what Christmas is for. Gremlins, probably sacrilege, but I don't love Gremlins. I enjoy Gremlins 2 more than I do Gremlins 1, and I was lucky enough to, at a Comic-Con a few years ago, I was doing some filming and some interviewing, and Zach Galligan was one of the guests at the Comic-Con, so I got to have a quick chat with him and ask, and on camera, and ask him a few questions for the Comic-Con, for their YouTube channel, and he was lovely. He was brand new, very happy to chat about why he thinks Gremlins has stood the test of time, and why it's still relevant today. So he was really nice to chat about, and it was nice to see him literally in person chatting to me, reminiscing about his experience on Gremlins. So Gremlins is good. Is it a 4 out of 5? No, I'm going to stick with 3.5. I'm going to stick with 7 out of 10 for Gremlins. Oh Christ! Right, hang on. You can't quite see me beneath all of this comment. Let me go up a wee bit. There, I'll go back a wee bit. I'm going to go back and up. There. So, Santa Claus, Jingle All the Way, Miracle on 34th Street, Nightmare Before Christmas, It's a Wonderful Life, A Christmas Story, The Holdovers, Die Hard. Right, so of all of that list, Die Hard, if we're counting it as a Christmas movie, which everyone does, Die Hard would be the only one that I would give 4.5 out of 5. I'd give Die Hard a 9 out of 10. Die Hard is a bloody brilliant movie. And if you class that as a Christmas movie, which I think most people do, I would as well. Yes, so Die Hard definitely gets a 9 out of 10/4.5 out of 5. So there you go, Anthony. I don't hate Christmas movies. Die Hard is the one for sure. Mockingbird, It's a Wonderful Life is 5 stars. I know loads of people love it. I don't. It's okay. We've got more movies. How the Grinch Stole Christmas, animated or Jim Carrey movie. I actually don't like the Jim Carrey movie as much as I like Jim Carrey. I don't like him in that. I'd rather watch the animated one. Bad Santa, yeah, 3 out of 5. Krampus, I've never actually seen, so we'll need to add that to the list of Christmas movies to watch. Is that the one? Is that the horror one? I know Krampus is in Red One, the movie with Dwayne Johnson and Chris Evans from last year, but that's definitely not going to top the list of Christmas movies. Not in a good way, anyway. Mockingbird says you definitely have Christmas issues. Maybe they are on too much in a short period of time. No, I don't think that's it. Oh, comments have disappeared. There we go. Right, I think that's us caught up in the comments. Let's dive back over and work through the list. Aha! There we go. a 4 out of 5 Christmas movie, and this is a new one. So this is That Christmas, which is a Netflix original, I think. I'm almost sure it was on Netflix. What have I wrote here? I did not expect to be brought to tears by an animated Netflix original Christmas movie, and yet I was. This is really good. I'd heard on, I think the Empire Film Podcast, or one of the film podcasts that I watch or I'd listen to, they'd mentioned this, and I'm sure I'd seen like the tile, the icon on the Netflix kind of homepage. So we decided to watch that, and it's really good. It's really good. So that's a 4 out of 5 / 8 out of 10 Christmas movie. See, I don't hate Christmas. Brian Cox should definitely play a live action Santa. He's really good in this. This is a really good movie. It definitely brought us to tears on at more than one point, but especially at the end. It's a really good movie. It's a really good movie. Let's quickly jump in here. Definitely have Christmas. Oh no, we did that comment, didn't we? Yeah, we did that comment. Krampus is a horror movie from 2015 with Adam Scott Adam Scott, the comedian guy from Step Brothers and Parks. Or is it a different Adam Scott? Tony Collette, worth a watch for sure. It's a fun movie. I'm sure we talked about it at Christmas time, but it must have not been available on any of the streamers when we were trying to find it. But yeah, that's it's one I do want to watch, because a lot of people put it on their list of Christmas movies. So I'm sure we'll get to that. We'll hopefully get to that this coming Christmas. This Christmas and that Christmas. Yeah, That Christmas on Netflix. I mean, you're not going to watch it in February, but come this Christmas, when you're putting together your watch list, I would absolutely recommend That Christmas. And I gave it 4 out of 5, proving that I don't hate Christmas movies. Right. And then on Boxing Day, we watched Scream 2, probably because the oldest in the house, my stepdaughter, is a big Scream fan. We'd watched Scream a lot in the past year, so we decided to watch Scream 2. I still like it, still enjoy it. The original trilogy of Scream movies, I think, are still the best, especially 1 and 2. 3, maybe not so much. In fact, I think when I did like an off-the-cuff Scream movie ranking, I think it went 1, 2, 6, 4, 5. Wait, I've forgotten 3. Hang on. Okay, so unofficial, unscientific, off-the-cuff Scream movie ranking from best to worst. Scream 1, Scream 2, Scream 6, Scream 3, Scream 4, Scream 5. Yeah, that's probably my Scream movie ranking. Let me double check that. 1, 2, 6, the most recent one, the one in New York. Yeah, 1, 2, 6, 3, 5, 4. Or 4, 5. I can't decide which one is my least favourite, whether it's Scream 4 or Scream 5. But yeah, we watched Scream 2. I really like the soundtrack to this. I remember like desperately trying to get a hold of some of the songs back in the late 90s that were on the Scream 2 soundtrack, but they were difficult to find because, internet wasn't what it is today. You couldn't just go to Spotify and listen to anything you wanted. You had to like try and piece together like, a mini disc compilation from various CDs and whatnot. But yeah, Scream 2, really good sequel, and a really good soundtrack. Let's move on. Where's the mouse gone? There it is. And then we watched The Karate Kid. I haven't seen this in a long, long time. And I think it was just myself, my partner, and our oldest, and I think she gave up halfway through it. But we definitely finished it. It's an absolute classic. It's my brother's favourite film. I don't know if my brother would ever see this, because I don't even think he knows I do a YouTube channel. But it's my brother's favourite movie, I think. What's happened? Camera's disappeared. Hang on. I think you can still hear me, but the video's gone. Let me see if that's going to come back. And we're back. Not quite sure what happened there. Pretty sure you can still see and still hear me. Yeah? Give me a thumbs up in the chat, guys, if you can still see and still hear me after that happened. Let's dive into the chat here. I'm going to assume that you can still see and still hear me. Yeah, Karate Kid. I mean, the guy who directed Rocky then directed this. There's definitely parallels and there's definitely similarities to how those movies are put together. But it's just brilliant. If you grew up with it right here, if you grew up in the 80s, the Karate Kid is an integral part of your childhood. And it's a brilliant example of something that I think is called the Mandela effect, where your memory over time about something changes to be incorrect, but you are 100% convinced that it's true because, so the Karate Kid ends, you know, the final fight, he beats Johnny and, you know, everyone's happy and he's got the trophy and everything. I was convinced that the scene that opens the Karate Kid 2 was actually at the end of the Karate Kid 1, to the point where we watched this. I think we watched it on Netflix. Like, I don't have the Blu-ray or the 4K of this. I've got the DVDs, you know, in a wallet somewhere. But we watched it on Netflix, and I was convinced once it ended that Netflix had done the unthinkable and had like edited out parts of the Karate Kid. And I was so incensed that I went online to like try and find why they did this and what happened. And it turns out they didn't. It just turns out that it was, you know, the Mandela effect in full effect, because the start of Karate Kid 2 takes place like immediately after the end of the Karate Kid 1, but I thought that those scenes were actually still at the end of the Karate Kid 1. You know, the scene in the car park where he's punches through the glass and he's like, whoa, whoa, and he grabs the nose and does the honk thing. You know, Miyagi and Kreese. Yeah, that was interesting to see. I had a proper Karen moment and I was wrong. There you go. It's okay to be wrong sometimes when you're being all Karen. Sometimes. Let's quickly jump back into the chat. Sweep the leg. That Christmas was beautiful, unexpected, emotional roller coaster of a movie. It was. And we've got a few thumbs up here, and I'm assuming that's just checking and confirming that you can see and hear me. Thanks, guys. Don't know what happened to the camera. That's weird that the picture disappeared, but the audio didn't. Anyway, right, let's crack on. Karate Kid. So the reason I think this is like, what are we looking at, December 29th? So this is that week in between Christmas and New Year where you don't know what day it is, you've barely got any work on, or you've got no work on, you're just like lounging about eating leftover food and snacks and chocolate and crisps and popcorn and everything, and you know, it's the best time. So, you know, you watch lots of movies. I think I was watching at least a movie a day in the Christmas holidays, which is great. So we watched Super/Man, the Christopher Reeve story. This was good. It got quite emotional at times, and it was also good that they didn't totally shy away from talking about the negative aspects of a person, of a human being, of a man, of a husband, of a father. It was odd that they never mentioned his cameo on Smallville, for all of the specifics and the minute detail they went into about his career. They never mentioned or showed his cameo on Smallville. I don't know whether that was maybe a rights issue or something, but I thought that was odd because he had a really good cameo in, I don't know what season it was, but he was in an episode or two of Smallville, in the chair. I don't think he played himself. I think he played a professor or something. But yeah, that was good. It's quite emotional. It's a bit of a tearjerker at times. And I remember that year. I remember watching the Oscars that year where he appeared, and it was less than a year after his accident, I'm sure. But I vividly remember the curtains opening and he's there and everyone's standing and cheering and getting all emotional, and he does that. He's got his line where I'm paraphrasing and butchering his joke, but he's got a joke where he says, you know, I flew here from wherever it is to be here with you tonight. People are just surprised to learn that it took me 9 hours. I vividly remember that, and that would have been like the 1996 Oscars or something. So I was only like 12 or 13, but that moment stuck with me. And this is a good documentary. It's emotional, doesn't shy away from, you know, it's not. I wouldn't say it's a warts and all documentary, but it's definitely not a puff piece. Definitely doesn't, you know, paint him as a saint, because, you know, nobody's a saint. He's a human being. He had flaws, and they do talk about that, which is quite refreshing for a documentary. Quickly jump back into the comments. Disney Plus definitely does edit their movies, so you need to watch out for that. I know. I heard about the Babysitters Club one. Well, it's, she says don't cluck with an F with the babysitter. I know the Disney Plus version has the edited version, but I'm kind of, it's not that I'm okay with that, but it's the modern version of like edited for TV, like. But then again, yeah, I suppose if it's a streaming service, you should have the option of watching, the edited for TV version or the original version. Yeah, they should give us the option, I suppose. That would probably be the best way to go about it. But it's the modern day version of the TV edit. Like, I remember the original RoboCop, I had a taped off TV VHS, like, edit of that, which in the UK it was the ITV, the STV, Scottish Television / ITV version of RoboCop. And for like, the first 12, 15 years of my life, that's the only version of RoboCop that I've seen. And so I didn't realise that was like heavily, heavily edited. And then I eventually bought the trilogy box set, Region 1 DVD, that I think not only was it not the TV edit, but it was the unrated / Verhoeven director's cut of RoboCop. And oh my God, that's a different movie. When I say that there's a lot of violence and swearing in the unrated RoboCop compared to the edited for TV version, it's like half an hour shorter. So that was definitely interesting. The first time I saw the theatrical or the director's cut of RoboCop. Why am I talking about RoboCop? I've got off track. Yes, because we're talking about like Disney Plus editing their TV shows. Yeah, they should give you the option like of watching the safe edited version or the original version. The fact that they're doing that and not giving you the choice is a bit of a underhanded way of doing things, but it's also just, as an avid physical media collector, there's a whole bunch of unboxings that I need to do up there. No, there. Where are they? There. It's another reason for physical media, because like the DVD version of the Babysitter movie doesn't have the F-bomb edited out, whereas the Disney Plus version evidently does. And on that note, I just heard, I don't know if this is true or not, but the rumour is that the upcoming release of Crocodile Dundee, the upcoming 4K release of that, apparently has certain things edited out of that. The bit where he grabs a certain appendage in a bar and says some things that are perhaps not PC for modern audiences has been edited out. So that'll be interesting to see if that's true or not. What do we have? We've got an OK from Mockingbird, probably about talking about the sound and audio thing. Anthony's ranking of the Scream films from best to worst. 1, 2, 4, 3, 6, 5. Just not a big fan of Melissa Barrera's acting. I would kind of agree with the Melissa Barrera element, and I know a lot of people really like 4, but that's not one that I like that much. I think everyone would agree that 1 and 2 are the top 2. I think everyone agrees that 5 is the worst. It's the middle 3 that people kind of shuffle around. So 3, 4, and 6 get shuffled around people's ranking of Scream. But I think everyone agrees 1 and 2 are the best, and 5 is the worst. Yeah, there we go. Collector Movie Man, how we doing, buddy? Thanks for joining us. I'm doing well. Loving your icon there. Is that the new Superman logo? That's interesting. Did we all watch the new Superman trailer? The TV spot that had the controversial, GoPro style front on view of his face, and it made his face look all weird and distorted. I was surprised to see the backlash that got. Oh, look at that! We're talking about Superman, and we've still got Superman on screen. It's almost like I planned that. I didn't, but yeah, that was. It was interesting to see the backlash that shot specifically had, because given the day job that I have, I'm quite knowledgeable about cameras and lenses and angles and what it does to faces and whatnot. So I think James Gunn, for better or worse, he's very prolific on social media. So someone had commented about the terrible CGI of that shot, and he replied saying, there's actually no CGI in that shot on his face. It's a real background. It's his real face there's CGI because we've composited them together, but there's no CGI on his face. I didn't think there was CGI on his face. It's just a really wide angle lens on his face. Like this lens I've got here is in terms of like movie lens numbers, that's a standard 40, 50 mil ish lens. So it makes your face look relatively normal. But if I put a wide angle lens on that and put my face really close to the camera, it kind of distorts your face a little bit. Like if you've ever used a GoPro, the GoPro by standard has a really wide lens, and if you put your face right up to the lens, it makes your face look stretched out and flat and distorted. That's all that was. So yes, it looked weird. It was similar to the shot he had of Will Poulter as Sentry, was it? No. Was it Sentry? No, Adam Warlock in Guardians 3. There's a similar shot. I'm sure I've seen the side-by-sides on social media of that as well. But yeah, I was surprised to see the backlash that one shot had. It still feels like James Gunn's got an uphill battle with the general movie-going public for his Superman movie. And I think that's partly his own doing because he's so prolific on social media. I was chatting on someone else's live stream last week about this. Like when you compare, I know it's comparison of it's the Thief of Joy and all that jazz, but like compare the kind of marketing for The Dark Knight from 15 or so years ago. Christopher Nolan. I mean, social media didn't really exist back then, but it was very much like it was taken a little more seriously, and you only put out what you wanted to put out. Whereas because James Gunn is on social media a lot, everything that he says and does, and every element of his movie, of the trailer, of the posters, it's all analysed frame by frame to within an inch of its death. And I think that's to the movie's detriment. I think it's to the marketing of the movie's detriment. I think take a step back, come off social media until the week of release when you're doing the press tour, and then come back to it. I think right now, have your trailers, have your TV spots, but then just leave them be. I think constantly defending these trailers and these shots, I don't think is doing him, James Gunn, or the movie Superman any favours. But yeah, that's my random tangent on the Superman chat just now. Corey says, Robocop director's cut, that poor guy in the boardroom. Yeah, that's definitely one of the ones that stand out. Like on the TV edit that I've got, he gets shot, but he gets shot like twice, and it cuts away very quickly. The theatrical cut, he gets shot maybe 10 or 20 times, but then the unrated director's cut, Mr. Is it Ken? No, Kenny, I think his name is. Anyway, that poor guy, like he gets shot 100 times, and it's just like Swiss cheese by the end of it. So when you compare the director's cut to the TV edit of that, it's hilarious. It's absolutely hilarious. Collector Movie Man, yep, really looking forward to the Superman movie, and yeah, that's the new Superman logo for the new movie. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I don't go into any movie wanting to dislike it. I will say what I've seen so far, I'm not overly hyped for it. I'm definitely less hyped for this Superman than I was for Man of Steel. And that's before I became a Henry Cavill fan. Something about the kind of the tone of the James Gunn Superman, at least from the trailers, seems a little bit goofy, for lack of a better phrase. But, I'll be there opening day, probably. Pay my money, happily go and see it, and, hopefully I enjoy it. But right, so far I've not been blown away by the trailers. Scottish guy, what did you think of the trailer for Jurassic World Rebirth? Someone, I don't know if it was yourself, commented on a different video earlier on today about that. That just came out today. Yeah, so the Jurassic Park trailer that just came out today, I was actually pleasantly surprised. It seems to be going in a different direction, which I think is good. I think having a fresh cast is the right move. I do have a slight worry that they're going to go too far with the whole genetic modification stuff. Like, I have this, because to give it some context, the original Jurassic Park is my favourite movie of all time. Well, it's either that or Endgame. It kind of like, on any given day, toss a coin and it's either going to be Endgame or Jurassic Park that's number one. But before Endgame came out, my number one movie was Jurassic Park. And half the time still is today. So I've got a lot of love for Jurassic Park. The sequels vary in their quality. Really disappointed in Dominion. No one cares about locusts and crops and genetically modified bugs going after non-corporate crops. That whole it's a dinosaur movie. Shows dinosaurs. The dinosaur element of Dominion was great. I really liked the feathery one that was on the kind of the ice at the end, and then I really liked the ornithopter, and the one with the big claws. That was really cool. But yeah, they effed up Dominion, in my opinion. So I was really surprised to hear them announce, not even 2 years ago. I think the timeline from announcing Jurassic World Rebirth to it coming out has been very truncated, very short. So that's kind of like red flag number one, is that, from nothing to finished movie in record time, in less than 2 years, I think, maybe even less than 18 months. That's a bit of a red flag. But what did I think of the trailer for Jurassic World Rebirth? Pleasantly surprised, because I thought they were really going to heavily rely on nostalgia and the genetic modification thing. Now, it looks like they still might be going down that road. Who knows? We'll see when the movie comes out. The big fear that I've got is I'm sure I read online or I've seen deleted storyboards or concept art where they were talking about a human dinosaur hybrid. And I'm not talking about the deep fake thing with Scarlett Johansson that was online last month. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about years ago, like storyboard sketches and whatnot, where it was human dinosaur hybrids. Really hope they don't go down that road, because I think it'd have to be an amazing story to pull that off. So yeah, I was pleasantly surprised with the Jurassic World Rebirth trailer, given that it's my favourite movie of all time, and I've got a lot of time for that franchise, even though some of the movies are less than amazing. Because I love it so much, I worry about what they're going to do so much. Yeah. Were you able to get a copy of Wicked? No, not yet. It's actually still playing in the cinema here, so I'll either hopefully still catch it in the cinema, or I'll pick up the Steelbook when I think it's sold out in most places, but usually when the Steelbook, when the actual release day comes, places like Zavi and HMV, like within a week they get one or two returns, or they find more copies, and so they put it on the website. So if I don't see it in the cinema, I'll probably just pick up a copy of the Steelbook, because both girls in the house really like it, and I want to see it. So if I don't see it in the cinema, I'll probably pick it up on Steelbook. Look, how we doing, my man? Luke says Jurassic Park is unreal. I'm assuming you mean in a good way? Yes, it is. What did you think of the Jurassic World Rebirth? And Collector Movie Man Mike, what did you think of the Rebirth trailer? Like I said, I was pleasantly surprised, but I wouldn't say I love it. I would just say I'm surprised that I didn't hate it. Yeah. What did you guys think of the Jurassic World Rebirth trailer? And while you guys are chatting about that, I will jump back over here and go through the next movie. We're getting towards the end of the month. So the 29th was one. I remember thinking that at the time. The 29th was a 1, 2, 3, 4 movie day. Check that out. You're only going to get a chance to do that in that week between Christmas and New Year. When else are you going to get a chance to watch 4 movies in one day? Night Bitch. Amy Adams. This was, as I said here, bloody brilliant. I thought it would be an awards contender for Amy Adams, but evidently I'm wrong. I think any parent will relate to that whole newborn toddler stage of the no sleep, the monotony, the baby groups, the other mums in the baby groups, and the cliquiness of them, and sometimes you're in like toddler gymnastics, or boogie beats, or trampoline baby thing, and the sing song classes and all that stuff. Now, I really enjoyed taking the kids to them. The way life and work schedules worked out, I actually for my youngest, I went to a lot of these toddler classes, so that bit ironically resonated with me quite a lot. But yeah, this was really good, and again, I'm surprised that there wasn't a bigger fanfare made for Amy Adams, because I think she's it's a brilliant but a very brave performance in a way. I don't want to spoil it too much by talking more about why that is, but yeah, and I think Night Bitch is now on. Is it Disney Plus? I think it's on, at least in the UK, it's on one of the streamers. So, yeah, definitely check that out. Night Bitch it's a damn good movie. Let's see what's next. So, movie number 3 of 4 on that day was Heretic or Heretic. Heretic. I think in the UK, do we say Heretic? But I think the US they say Heretic. Or am I the only one that says Heretic? But yeah, I'm loving the fact that Hugh Grant is in his, doesn't give up stage of his career and is just doing what he wants. He goes from doing movies like Paddington 2 and the cameo in Paddington 3, he goes from that to a movie like this where he plays a very convincing, sadistic, religious or not, crazy, just dropped something, crazy man. Really good. 7-ish out of 10, maybe an 8 out of 10. I would have given that one. It's got an amazing first half. It's very tense, very creepy. Kind of slows down in the second half. As I said, Hugh Grant is on fine form. Very creepy, and he's got lots of tasty monologues to get through, and it looks like he's relishing that and just enjoying the out of his part in his monologues. He's actually got a really good there's one of his really good monologues where he basically goes over the history of religions, and without getting any too much of a theological argument / debate about that, I was kind of like, this crazy man has got some points. But we won't delve too much into that. Right, let's jump back into the comments real quick. Let's see. Luke says Jurassic Park is unreal. I know we did that one already. Mike Collector Movie Man. Yeah, I was surprised by Jurassic Park Rebirth trailer. Didn't think I was going to like it, but I did. Yeah, I think, I would probably echo that sentiment. It's one of those ones. I mean, look, it's a money-making franchise, and I would say for the most part, it's a, maybe not beloved, but it's definitely it's a fan favourite franchise. So it's theirs to mess up. It's an existing IP. It's a proven IP. They've got stars in it. They've got Scarlett Johansson. They've got Mahershala Ali. They've got Rupert What's-His-Face friend, who's actually, I think, really underrated. I mean, he was brilliant in Homeland. I actually thought he was quite good in Hitman Agent 47, especially considering, if I remember rightly, he was like parachuted in at the last minute because I think Paul Walker was scheduled to play that part, but then obviously he tragically died. So I think he was good in that. And then, what did I see him in recently? Rupert Friend. Oh yeah, he was in the Obi-Wan TV show. He didn't have a whole lot to do in that, but he was decent in that. And then he's actually the movie, ironically, that I think of first when I think of Rupert Friend, if that is his name, if the guy I'm thinking of, it's a movie called Starred Up from, I can't remember the director's name, but it's a low-budget prison drama called Starred Up, starring, I think, is it Jack O'Connell? I may be getting both of these guys' names wrong, but anyway, the guy from Homeland, the guy who's in Jurassic Park Rebirth, the guy who was in Obi-Wan, I'm sure it's Rupert Friend. Anyway, he's really good in that movie, Starred Up, and in Homeland, and I always think of them as soon as I see him and think, oh, he's good. I liked him in those. So if he's in something, I'll think that's only going to be a good thing. So the fact they've got a proven IP, the fact they've got star power who can act, you've got an Oscar winner in Mahershala Ali, you've got Scarlett Johansson, you've got, as I said, that guy, Rupert Friend. I hope I'm getting remember his name right. It's Universal's, it's theirs to mess up. Like, all they have to do is not mess up and everyone will be happy. So we'll see. Luke says he was surprised. It looks decent. Jurassic Park is maybe my favourite movie alongside There Will Be Blood. Ooh, that's an interesting double bill. Yeah, I like There Will Be Blood. It wouldn't be in my top 10 or top 20, but it's a brilliant movie. It's probably my favourite Daniel Day-Lewis performance. I've not seen that in a long time. That's actually another random tangent here. I've got a copy of the Steelbook for that, which I managed to pick up for a less than stupid price, because the regular Blu-ray Steelbook, I don't think they brought out a 4K yet, is one of those rare ones. It does go for like a stupid amount of money, like 60, 80, 100 pounds on eBay, because it's quite sought after. But yeah, that's interesting. Those are your two favourite movies. Mike Collector Movie Man, have a good day or night. I forgot what time it is there, but I know you're in a different time zone. But I'm about to go into Walmart. Enjoy Walmart, mate. It is, what time is it here? 10 to 10. Is it 10 to 10? Yes. It is 9:50 here in the UK. So enjoy Walmart, my man. And Luke says, I really enjoyed the Reeves doc, cried, and Heretic is mad fun. I didn't like Night Bitch, but her performance was very good. Yeah, I saw, I think someone brought up Night Bitch on a Facebook group, and as I scrolled through the comments, I was surprised to see that the vast majority of people weren't actually fans of the movie, but I definitely am. Anthony says, Heretic was fantastic. I loved it. The ending sits way better on the second viewing, in my opinion. That is one of those movies where I think it does deserve a second viewing, given that you know where it's going, so you can, without spoiling it, you can look out for certain things. But that's, I don't know if I'll give it a second watch. It's probably a one and done, but I would imagine watching it a second time, you will pick up on different things. Startup was brilliant. Whoa, I'm amazed that someone else seen that. Also 71, similar budget, is also very good, both with Jack O'Connor. I did get his name right. Brilliant. Jack O'Connor. Yeah, Startup is really good. Right, that's us caught up in the comments. Let's jump back over to the list. We're nearly there. Oh, went too far back. And then the fourth and final movie on our movie marathon day was Joker Folie à Deux. Yeah. I mean, it's not good. It's hard to articulate what we're all here, so it's hard to articulate exactly why it was pish, but it was 100% pish. It should have been a 10-minute fantasy sequence in a proper Joker sequel, but instead we get this brain fart chat GPT. I actually wrote this. This must have been really late at night. It should have been a 10-minute fantasy sequence in a proper Joker sequel. Instead, we got a brain fart chat GPT style natural born killers version of a Joker sequel. They should be, and I think Phoenix is, embarrassed. That's probably all I've got to say about that. Let's move on. It was bad. Considering, I said let's move on. Considering the first one is so good. It won Joaquin Phoenix the Oscar. It made over $1 billion. I would imagine the scores on IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes and whatnot are very favourable. To go from that to this, yeah, it's just bad. So that was the fourth and final one that day. Next day, we caught up on Beetlejuice. A bit underwhelming, not enough Beetlejuice in the Beetlejuice movie. The Monica Bellucci storyline was completely unnecessary and superfluous. There we go, my word of the day, toilet paper. The twists weren't surprising at all. It looked great. Michael Keaton was great. It just needed more of him. Like, whatever the runtime of this movie is, it could have been. You could totally cut out the Monica Bellucci storyline, and the movie would probably be better, and it would feel like you had more Michael Keaton in it. But for some reason, it just felt like there wasn't enough of him, and it felt, it just felt like a jigsaw piece movie that was like some of the pieces didn't fit, but they forced them in to give you like a Beetlejuice sequel. Yeah. 3 out of 5, but I think that's me being even a wee bit generous. And then, coming to the end here, one of my favourite movies of 2024, it came out on Boxing Day, December 26th in the UK, I think. But it didn't come out in North America until January this year. So it's a 2024 movie for us in the UK. Better Man. Full review on the channel. I'll link to it below as well. It's the biopic of a famous UK singer called Robbie Williams. The hook being, in this movie, he's played by a photorealistic chimp. So think, it's directed by the guy who did The Greatest Showman, which they should have made a bigger deal about in the marketing, because I think that would have got more bums in seats, but they didn't. At least, I don't think they did. So I think Greatest Showman meets Rise of the Planet of the Apes, purely because of the photoreal CGI chimp element. It's such a shame that this is just tanked to the box office, because it's a really good movie. It's genuinely, again, if I ever do my top movies of 2024, this will definitely be in the top 5. It's so good. It works together so well. It seems weird that it's a CGI chimp playing the lead, but you honestly forget that within 5 or 10 minutes, and you just get drawn in with the story and the performance of the CGI chimp, or should I say the guy who's, in the mocap suit playing the CGI chimp, whose name escapes me. I'm sure I wrote it down for the review. But yeah, it's really good. If it's still in the cinema, go and see it. It's really, really good. But sadly, it's tanking at the box office. Yeah. And then, in fact, let's jump, before I do the last movie of the year, let's jump back into the chat. Startup was brilliant. Did that one, I think, already. Luke says, not seen Joker 2 and probably won't. I mean, yeah, it's not great, but it's maybe worth seeing just to see, is it as bad as everyone said? And it probably is. It probably is. Yeah. Anthony says, I thought Beetlejuice was terrible. The story was poor. They barely used the iconic score by Danny Elfman. Yeah, that was quite lacking. I thought the score was quite underwhelming as well. Jenna Ortega was on another level of awful. Those cringy dance numbers, yeah. There just wasn't enough Beetlejuice in the Beetlejuice movie. That was my biggest gripe with it. I'm not sure what the general consensus is with Beetlejuice 2. Beetlejuice. I wonder if we'll get a Beetlejuice. Not having Gina Davis in it, I expected her to make a cameo. And spoilers, she doesn't. At least if she did, I missed it. But yeah. Right, I think the next one is the last movie of the year, and it was a special one. So, on December 31st, we didn't have any plans. We didn't have any parties to do on New Year's Eve. We didn't have any kids either. So, being the cool people we are, we decided, I coerced my long-suffering partner to do the whole watch Avengers Endgame and time it so that when Iron Man snaps, that coincides with midnight. And I can't remember the exact time, but it's something like, if you start Endgame at 9:29 p.m. and 31 seconds or something like that, then that syncs up with Iron Man snapping his fingers at midnight. And so we're watching Endgame, and we're getting closer to that moment, and I'm watching the clock and watching my phone, and I'm like, is it going to work? And then I'm thinking, it's going to work. And like, I think I was maybe like literally a second out, but it actually worked. And anyone who's not a boring old man will think that is like a ridiculously cringy, boring thing to do, but it's probably the best New Year's that I can think of in a long time, because A, it's an amazing film, and B, it actually worked. Like, I've seen videos online of people doing that, and I've thought, that's cool, we should try that one year. Not really thinking that we would, but we had an opportunity to try it this year, and that's exactly what we did. And you might think it's boring and cringy and sad, but I thought it was cool. So yeah, one of the best movies of all time, timed for Tony Stark / Iron Man's snap at midnight. And that was the last movie of December 2024 and the last movie of the year 2024. So yeah, that was my letterboxed watch list for December. It was a good movie, a good month for movies. Was that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, Craven, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 20. So it's almost 25 movies, almost a movie a day. That's not bad. That's not bad. Next month's live stream is definitely going to be shorter because I definitely didn't get through as many movies in January this year. February will hopefully be better because I've got a lot to catch up on for award season. We've also got the Glasgow Film Festival coming up at the end of this month, which I'm looking forward to. I don't want to say too much on that, but I'm hoping to have some not exclusive coverage of that, but I'm hoping to have coverage of the Glasgow Film Festival towards the end of the month. So that should be quite interesting. Yeah, let's jump back into the comments here before we sign off. Did we see that one? Yeah. Luke says, fan of Back to the Future, Alien, Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, MCU, Tarantino, but There Will Be Blood. It's different. It stuck with me. That's interesting. That's interesting because of all the movies and franchises you mentioned there, the one that stands out is There Will Be Blood. But I think that's a testament to how good that movie is. Avengers Endgame is a blast. You are indeed correct, Anthony. Avengers Endgame is a blast. Mockingbird, agree. Beetlejuice storyline could have been more straightforward. Felt like they had a few ideas and used all of them badly. Yeah, I think that kind of matches up with my forced jigsaw analogy of why Beetlejuice just wasn't great. Fantastic list, man. Thanks very much for sharing with us. Thanks very much for sticking with us for, 90 minutes or so. That was some good chat. Thank you very much. Mockingbird says, better man, 100% ready to hate it, and I was wrong. It's absolutely fantastic. And that tends to be what a lot of people are saying. A lot of people, at least in the UK, Robbie Williams is famous, very, very famous in the UK, but not everyone is a Robbie Williams fan. So there's a lot of people who didn't want to see that because they don't like Robbie Williams. But the few detractors or the few non-fans of Robbie Williams that did go and see it, as Mockingbird said, ended up loving it. And I think that's true. Whether you like Robbie Williams or dislike him, whether you love him or hate him, I genuinely think you'll enjoy the movie. It is a good movie. Luke says Craven was rough. I love Batman Returns. Yeah, I think you maybe joined the stream after I chatted about them, mate. Craven was rough. Not quite as bad as Madam Web, but still really bad. Same time next week, probably, mate. Actually, yeah. So I'll probably go live next Wednesday or Thursday and go through January's list, which I'll give you a sneak peek of here. There we go. No, hang on, where are we there? Yeah. So I need to update it a little bit, but there's January's list. Definitely shorter than December's list. The key standout for January for me. Hang on, let me just go full screen here. There we go. The key standout for January this year was I finally did the Snyder trilogy back to back. So January 1st, Man of Steel, January 2nd, Batman v Superman, and then January 3rd, or was it the 4th? I think it was January 1, 2 and 3, the Snyder trilogy, Man of Steel, then on the 2nd, Batman v Superman, the unrated cut, obviously, and then Zack Snyder's Justice League. I've been wanting to do that trilogy since Zack Snyder's Justice League came out. The middle child, who is 11, he's been wanting to watch them as well. So we finally got to watch them, and it was brilliant. It was a good experience. It's one of those ones where I don't know in my life when I'll ever do that again as a trilogy. It's like, it's not quite like Lord of the Rings, where a lot of people do that annually. I didn't actually do that this year. I did see in September 2023, I did a Lord of the Rings extended edition marathon at the cinema, which I think I did a video. I did a video on that. I'll put that in the description as well. So I know a lot of people do, a Lord of the Rings trilogy every year, but the Snyder trilogy, as it were, doesn't have quite the same following. It does have a following, but yeah, I don't know if I'll ever watch those three movies back to back with the same intent. We watched it on I've got a pop-up projector, so it's like a 100-inch screen. It's the 4K discs for all of the movies. All of the movies looked great. They sounded great. It's not, I don't have an amazing, like, it's just a standard soundbar. It's not like a fancy pants Dolby Atmos or anything like that, but you know, it's loud. But yeah, the Snyder trilogy was brilliant. That's a sneak peek to the next live stream. I'm possibly going to do a live stream as well where I've got a whole bunch of steelbooks and 4K media to unbox. I might do that as a live stream because there's a lot to get through. But definitely I'll be doing the January watch list within the next week or two. It's always usually a Wednesday or a Thursday. Let's quickly get through the last few comments. Endgame on New Year's is cool. Thank you very much. It was. Snyder trilogy. Clapperboard fire. Hands up. Love heart. That all seems positive, so we'll go with that. Which projector do you have and how much? It's a View. So if you DM me on Instagram, I'll find out for you, mate. It's a ViewSonic model. It's an older model, but it's a good 4K model. It's annoyingly, it's got some HDCP issues with certain devices, but it seems to work well with my Panasonic T450 model, like, so not the 820 that everyone has, you know, the kind of the one below that. But yeah, it's an old model. But if you DM me on Instagram, I'll get you the full model. It's not one you can buy just now because it's an old model, but it's ViewSonic. So I can recommend. I was going to say I can recommend that brand. I can't really. I can just, you know, this is the only 4K projector that I've ever used, and it suits me well. So yeah, right. And I can't remember how much it was. In fact, it was actually, it's a long story. It didn't cost me any money. It cost me time. A colleague owed me some days, some work. And rather than that, he used this projector on his corporate AV jobs. He was upgrading that to a short throw projector, which is like in the AV corporate events world. Short throw projector is a projector that has a short throw, so it sits like 1 foot in front of the screen and kind of projects up. So he was upgrading his kind of like his corporate AV setup to have one of them. And basically, I talked him into giving me his old projector, which is the ViewSonic standard throw projector, as payment rather than, you know, money, because I was wanting to buy a projector and that was a better deal. Kind of. Yeah. Anyway, Snyder trilogy is awesome. It is indeed, mate. Great to catch you live. Yep, thanks very much for tuning in. Like I said, probably next Wednesday or next Thursday, I'll be doing the same to go through January's list, and then that keeps us up to date. And then I'll try and do the live streams, you know, the first week of each month. I'll go through the Letterboxd list from last month. Shout out to Letterboxd as well, who absolutely have nothing to do with my channel or the live stream, but I'm going to shout them out anyway because you never know. And I genuinely, if I go back to the split screen, I couldn't keep track of my my movie viewing life without Letterboxd. So shout out to Letterboxd. Right, I think we'll call it a night there, guys. Thank you very much for everyone for tuning in, and I'll catch you in the next video. And I can't reach the music fade button, so I'll just slide out here like this.